On this episode of Band Banta, I catch up with Zeano, an artist you might recognise as Dean from Ballpark Music. Dean launched his solo career back in 2025 under the moniker of Zeano, and earlier this year he released his debut album called Window Seat Always. During this chat, Dean dives into the making of this album and how it was a much different creative process than writing songs in a band. You're tuning into Band Banter. My name's Dakota Griffiths, and this is my chat with Zeano. Dean, how are you going today? I've heard it's been a bit of a crazy couple of months for you.
I'm good, thank you. Yep, I've recovered from my broken collarbone, which happened about 7 weeks ago, and it's
Lovely.
feeling good. I can lift my arm above my head again now, which is fantastic.
Perfect. That would be a bit relieving, I could imagine.
It is, yeah. I've felt pretty useless for a while, but I was able to get out and mow my lawn yesterday too. So big steps, in the recovery process.
Absolutely. You've just released, you released a couple of weeks ago, your debut album, which is called Window Seat Always. Congratulations. So you've mentioned
Thanks.
with that album that it grew out of years of voice memos, which is, I think, something that a lot of artists can kind of relate to. There was a lot of late night reflections and different song ideas that you've jotted down throughout the years. What was the moment that made you decide that this year I'm finally turning all those memories and voice memos into an album?
I think about the end of 2024, I was
Yeah.
compiling all of the demos and I guess all of the bits of music that I've made for ages, like probably for the last 15 years into like a Google Drive folder.
Yeah.
And I ended up finding, going back through old emails, finding old files everywhere and realized that I just had like hundreds and hundreds of old ideas and stuff sitting around, and that if I didn't make a record or at least think about doing it, that maybe all of them, or at least some of the good ones, would just end up disappearing into the abyss. I
Yeah.
actually was thinking like, I need to give someone the password for this Google Drive, in case like one, because obviously we all die. And I was like, one day,
Mm,
if I never do this, one day I'm going to be gone. And then all of these ideas and all of these things that I've created are just going to disappear. So,
yeah.
um, yeah, that was a good reminder anyway to, at least not let them just sit there in my own private collection, and to share them, and hopefully people enjoyed them, but just more for my own satisfaction. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And then I guess you've taken it one step further as well because you've got it on physical media too. You've got the vinyl to go along with the album. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I decided when I was going to do the project that if I was doing it at all, I'd do it properly.
Yep.
So invest a bit of money in it, in terms of like giving myself the satisfaction of holding that physical copy, and
Yeah.
just yeah, like using it as a, if I was only ever going to do it once, that I did it properly. But I do plan on making more after the first one. So
Awesome. Okay, well, you've answered probably my last question there right off the bat early
yeah.
in, but
Yep.
amazing. That's always good to hear. So, some people may not know, but you're also a part of Australian band Ballpark Music, which has had
Mhm.
an enormous year with Like Love, touring, festivals, international shows. How challenging was it to carve out the time and the headspace to put into Zeno when competing with being in a band like that?
It was tough. We had a lot of touring last year with Ballpark. It was pretty much non-stop. So when I figured out that I was going to make this record with my friend Tim Hart in his studio in Brizzy, he's also drums for the band Boy and Bear, so he's very
Yeah.
busy as well. So it was basically like trying to find any time where both of us could string together a few days. And I didn't want to do it over a long period of time. Like I didn't want to go,
Mhm.
oh, let's do like one session now and then one in 6 months' time. I wanted to just get in and try and just live it in the moment. So yeah, we managed to fit it into weekdays between our kind of weekend touring schedules. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we did about 10 days over like a, must have been, yeah, 3 week period or something like that. And then,
Right.
yeah, and then couldn't get back into sort of like mix it together and stuff for a couple of months after that. But it was all tracked and ready to go. So yeah, it was difficult, but it's kind of nice when you don't have a choice. You just have to get in there and make it happen.
Yeah, well, you made it work. Was it a little bit nerve-wracking, having all the recordings done and then waiting that time to do all the mixing? Like, was there a part of you that thought, oh no, am I going to want to change these songs completely now that I've had them sitting there for a while?
Definitely, yeah. It was interesting. Like the way that Tim does his production is was different to what I'm used to. Like
Yeah.
when we make ballpark records, obviously Sam Cromack, like when he's producing them, he'll make them quite finished and quite polished
Hmm.
as we're working. So he'll be doing mixing in the background, things like that. So even before you've got the end product, you often have something that's quite close to being finished. But the way Tim works, which I really enjoyed, is to, track it, not focus too much on mixing it or making the end product perfect, and then just live with those for a while. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I definitely live with a lot of those recordings with like just endless ideas of what I wanted to make changes to and stuff. So it was kind of nice doing it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you gave you time to sit with the songs. And you recorded it in Brisbane, which is where you're from. Was there a reason that you chose to do it in Brisbane compared to any other place around Australia or even record internationally while you were over there with Ballpark?
Just because that's where Tim's studio is basically, yeah.
Fair
Like
enough.
yeah, he's got this little nice little room that's underneath. I think it's his sister's house, yeah, which
Yeah.
is super cool. Very cozy, like really comfortable space and
Mm,
um yeah, easy enough like to be able to just get up in the morning, drive from my house to his place. It's probably a
yeah.
45-minute drive or so, but through like the back kind of rainforesty part of
Oh,
Brisbane. So that was
beautiful.
always nice too. Yeah,
Yeah, awesome. I guess doing a project like this with a close mate in a comfortable setting is going to allow you to really feel the songs and, yeah, feel comfortable
exactly.
writing them. You spent years creating music as part of ballpark music, but what was the biggest
Mhm.
difference between making music for that band and then as Zeno?
Guess just not having the amount of collaborators. Yeah. Like,
Mm,
and obviously I've been in ballpark for a long time. We've just made our eighth record was our last one. So pretty much all of my album making experiences with those same four people and
yeah,
on occasion we've had a producer involved or whatever, but yeah, just not having those people to bounce ideas off. And obviously I had Tim there, but working with someone else who's a brand new collaborator, you never know how it's going to go. So
yeah.
um and I guess being like the person that's completely steering the ship on this project was nerve-wracking but also like liberating. Like
Mm,
um I guess when you think as a creator or an artist, you always have big ideas. When you're collaborating, you must compromise, you know. There's
yes.
always, you can't just steamroll anyone's ideas. You kind of have to find a sweet spot. But yeah, being my own project, I felt, yeah, a lot of confidence and a lot of license to just kind of make
Mm.
decisions and, choose where I wanted to take it, which was nice. Yeah.
Quite independent. How will the record be performed? Are you getting any friends to come up and help with the live performance of the songs? Or again, is it going to
Yep.
be a lot of solo performances and things?
Yes, I've done a couple of shows. I did one with my brother Dan, who also is in ballpark, played drums, and then
Yeah,
I've got a old friend of mine whose name is Laurent, and he's a keys player. So we did a
cool.
couple of shows which were just like piano, me on guitar and singing and drums. And then I did have a show booked in for my album launch, which was going to be with also a bass player, a friend of mine called George, but I had to postpone that one. I broke my
Yes.
collarbone, unfortunately. So, but when we do get that one back up and running, yeah, it'll be a little four-piece band, which would be nice. We did a
Awesome.
couple of rehearsals and it was so good, and it was so excited about it, and then had to go and break a bone. But
Yes.
these things happen.
Yeah, especially perfect timing for Breaking a Bone because you literally did it like the
Uh,
week after the album came
ex
out. Something that you've been working on for years. It's just how it goes
exactly. Oh,
sometimes.
it does. It does. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure it's probably out there, but I'm curious. Zeno, where does it come from? How did you come up with this moniker?
Funnily enough, it is a thing that a team we used to play at in my local cricket comp, used to
Mm.
just use it as a sledge when I would come out to bat. I don't know why, but there was
Oh,
just a guy in this team, and when you'd walk out to bat, there's always a bit of like banter and sledging going on, and they'd just be like, "Oh, Zeno, here he is!" Like, just I don't know, being a bit silly. And then my brother like just took it and ran with it, and it had
yeah,
just kept. If I call him on the phone, he answers the phone and he's like, "Oh, Zeno, what are you doing?" So yeah, I
yeah.
just thought, oh, it's close to Dino. There's too many Deans in music, or too many
There's quite
Deans
a
that are
few
famous out
Deans.
there. And I was
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I can't just go with Dean, or there's too many Dinos, or Dean whatever. And my surname's Hanson, and Hanson has a lot of music history as well,
Yes.
given the band of that name. So it was like, oh well, I'll just pick something that's like a nickname, you know?
Yeah,
And
absolutely. And I think going with a Z was a good idea because we don't really have many artists starting with a Z in Australia, so it also
exactly.
makes it a little bit more memorable too. And so you also created the visuals, the artwork, and photography for the project. So not just the
Mhm.
music, all the assets too. How important was it to build a complete world around Xeno and this album when releasing the work?
Yeah, it was so nice. Like I touched on before with the collaborative side of it with every other, ballpark projects I've been a part
Mm,
of and stuff. It's yeah, like some of those have had my images involved in album artworks and things like that, and I've made some videos for ballpark and then otherwise departed from that. So I've kind of got a lot of experience doing that for, the project with the rest of the band. And this was like, awesome. I can take my own press photos, I can make my own
yeah.
video stuff, I can make my own images, artworks, and without having to run it by anybody else. This creative license I don't know if everybody feels this way, but as an artist, it's really nice to have that creative license sometimes and just go,
Yeah.
once you've settled on something, I'd run it by my partner, or I'd show like my brother or whatever, and just, but you're not so much asking them for like, what they would change. You're kind of just going, is this cool? And they're like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool. And you're like, well, done. I like it. And
Yeah, perfect.
it's
Lock it
finished.
in.
So yeah, and I think, yeah, especially these days, like working in music, being as self-sufficient as you can be with
Mm,
especially all the creative stuff, I think is it's kind of the future. I think it's becoming more and more difficult to just be an artist in general, and I see a lot more people, I guess falling into that. Yeah, being self-sufficient and creating as much as you can and creating your own thing. And yeah, it's just a great way to do it, I think, moving forward.
yeah, definitely. And I guess that way you have, yeah, complete control over how you want it to not just sound, but also look and feel and that sort of thing too.
Exactly, and I think it leans into authenticity because
Hmm.
I feel like the music's going two ways, and it's obviously a bigger conversation, but I think that there's a lot of stuff that is like kind of produced for a purpose, and then there's a lot of music that is sort of authentic. And I think that
Hmm.
some people are chasing numbers, other people are chasing like a connection. And I think
Yeah.
that the more you're putting yourself into a project as an artist or a band, the more that you're likely to get the connection, which I think long term is more important. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. And your album cover art is a photo that you took.
Yeah.
Whereabouts was that photo taken? It was taken obviously in the window seat of a plane, but what
hmm
have you captured for people who might not
Um,
recognize it?
so that's just flying from Auckland down to Queenstown in New Zealand. So it's just
Yeah.
like the Southern Alps on South Island, New Zealand. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love New Zealand very much. A lot of the sort of press photos and stuff I took are from there.
Yeah.
I've been lucky to visit a lot of times in the last, I guess, 10, 15 years. And I had that particular image in mind. So when I booked that flight, I was hoping for good weather for starters, and
Yeah.
like booked that window seat. When I got on the plane, there was actually a lady said to me, she's like, "Oh, would you like to swap like with my son? He's on the other window seat on the other side." And I knew that the other side would be looking at the ocean, not
Yeah.
the. And so I kind of said to her, "No, I'm happy with my seat, thanks." And
Yeah.
then she was a bit like a bit taken back, like, "All right, that's a bit rude." And I was like, "No,
All
I've
right.
got an objective here." So pretty
Yeah.
much that whole flight, I was like, basically doing a professional photo shoot. And then
Yeah.
when we landed, she was like, "Ah, I see, you had a plan." And I was like,
Yeah.
I did."
This was calculated. This has been planned for a while.
Exactly. Yeah, I knew
Yeah.
what I was doing. Yeah, and I don't do that flight too many times, so I knew I had one
No.
chance, and the weather was great. So yeah.
Did you take a camera on the plane with you, or was it just a phone photo? Yeah.
Yeah, I took my camera. Yeah,
I was going to say it's
I
really good quality for a phone photo.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, I got pretty serious about it.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, like you said, you don't do the flight very often, and that's a pretty
No,
expensive photo to take or to mess up. Imagine having to get back on the plane because you stuffed up your one
exactly.
shot.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Now that the album is finally out in the world, what are you most excited about sharing with listeners through this album and the upcoming launch show as well?
I guess it's sharing a little part of me, which I think,
Hmm.
yeah, not everyone gets to do. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like I think when you are as a part of a band, you're obviously out there performing and stuff, but the vulnerability is taken away because you can kind of
Yeah.
hide behind the fact that you've got your other bandmates and obviously write some songs that get performed by the band, but I don't sing them in our band, even if I write them kind of
No.
thing. So actually, putting my face and my voice and everything to the words that I've written and yeah, just kind of, I don't know, chipping off a little piece of me to share with people is like, whether they like it or not, it's quite liberating, makes you feel that sort of vulnerability is good. I think
Yeah.
as an individual, I I think that especially men could be more vulnerable, like, have
Yeah.
sensitive sides and, put yourself out there and all the feelings that you feel are universal anyway, You're not the only one that's ever felt them,
Yeah.
but perhaps that, yeah, the way that you might write them in a song or you might hear them might maybe be able to help somebody figure out that, oh, okay, like that's, a nice, interesting way to put something. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's nice. I guess when you write a song, it may be personal, but once you put it down and give it to everybody else, you start to realize that it's not as personal as you thought it was, and it was just you, taking a universal feeling and putting it
Yeah.
into words. Mm.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, like songs are individual when you're writing them, and but as soon as they're out, there's more than likely someone who's going to be relating to those words.
That's right. I
You,
always used to
yeah.
wonder how artists would sing sad songs that were personal without like
Mm,
getting emotional singing them. Obviously, some artists do, and I do occasionally, but it's yeah, then you realize like once you've performed them or other people have heard them, then it starts to be like it's not for you anymore. You're just the messenger.
yeah. Yeah, and then you see other people getting emotional listening and singing along to your songs, and it's
Yeah,
yeah, a big awesome
that's
moment.
right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so now that you've introduced Zeano to the world, you've already alluded to this, but was this a once-off creative project, or are you already forming a vision for what's next?
Yeah, I've definitely already started writing and have a handful of songs that I want to do next. I want to try and produce a fair bit, if not the whole next record by myself. So,
Cool.
um, yeah, again, I'm not sure like how long that will take me. It's hard when you work
Yeah.
with someone else. It's great because you're on a time limit, and
Yes.
you're held accountable for finishing something. But when you do take on all the responsibility yourself, yeah, it's easy to sort of push it to the side. So I think if I if I can find the time, which I should be able to in the next year or so, to just enjoy some time in the studio, not have any
Mm,
time pressure, but work towards something. That's my goal anyway. So I'm always trying to
awesome.
learn, yeah, and build skills and things like that through music as well and enjoyment.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my aim.
Fantastic. Well, looking forward to hearing some more Xeno music. And for the
Awesome,
people
thank you.
that haven't had a listen already, make sure you go and check out Window Seat Always. It's a beautiful album. And grab a vinyl and keep an eye out for that upcoming
Yeah.
launch show. Yeah,
Amazing. Thanks so much,
awesome.
Dakota. It was
No
great
worries.
chatting.